and welcome to Drunk Girls Who Read, a podcast where we talk to each other about books because all our other friends stopped listening to us. I'm Hannah.
I would argue they were never listening in the first place, but sure. And I'm Charlie, and we're two 30-somethings combining hopefully intelligent literary criticism with drunken chaos.
We're currently reading The Hunger Games, and in this episode, we're reading chapters 8 and 9.
So grab a drink, crack open your book, and read along with us.
I wish I hadn't written the word crack.
Yeah, love a crack. Hiya, how are you?
You know, it is still the same
No, it's
day.
not.
No, it's not. It's a whole new day.
So...
Apart from I'm wearing the same skirt and they can see that.
It's a different day. She's an outfit repeater.
Nothing wrong with being an outfit repeater. No, it is the same day, but it's a lot later. My contact lenses are starting to itch slightly.
Do you want me to spit in your eyes?
No, but I feel similar to you, where you said to me earlier, oh my God, I thought it was a Sunday and it's a Saturday. And I actually felt the same. When I got here, I was like, and it's a Sunday. But no, we've got another weekend day, and that brings me joy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very full.
Oh, hold on, we're not drinking that. No, go away.
Yeah.
You good? You're very full? That's it?
I'm good. I'm very full. Very tired.
I didn't remind you to charge that in between episodes.
You are a useless bitch, Hannah. I'm going to fire you from the podcast.
I had one job.
I'm replacing you with Nikita. I'm sorry.
I had one to tell you to charge the bar. And you know what as well? It was on for a whole first episode, and when I was editing the cut downs, I was like, that looks so fucking good. And
Yeah.
it hasn't been the last 3 episodes.
The bar is shut.
No, it hasn't.
And this is definitely 100% your fault for not reminding me, and not my fault for not charging it in between episodes.
And we definitely run a highly professional podcast in a highly professional studio with like someone else to do the cameras and mics.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what am I reading?
Charlie,
Yeah.
what are you reading?
I can't believe you just asked me that. I am reading
Sorry, just a minute ago you dried your hands so you could touch me.
Oh my God, that sounds like complete filth. So Hannah told me 2 minutes ago we were in the kitchen and I was just washing up the wine glasses, and she told me that the other day she was in the cinema and she saw a rat, and I went to go and realised I had wet hands, so I went, hold that thought, dried my hands and went, were you watching Ratatouille?
And the hand drying made me think she was going to go, Hannah, there's rats in this house. I'm leaving.
It's Ratatouille.
I didn't see Ratatouille. I saw a real life rat. What are you reading?
I'm reading, oh my God, I swear I read anything else than this goddamn series. I hate that this is now across 3 fucking
the first
episodes.
3 episodes sponsored by you.
I am reading the 3rd You book. I say I'm reading. I'm lying to you right now. I was lying to you the other episodes. I've read these already. They were what I read in between the last time we recorded and today, even though these last 3 episodes were definitely recorded on different days. So I've just been splitting them across the episodes for variety. Anyway, I'm reading the 3rd one. You know how I said about the first 2, that they're really good, stupid, dumb, enjoyable beach reads. The 3rd one is the worst book I have ever read that I haven't DNF'd. It is the lowest score I have ever given a book without DNFing it. And the reason was because it was kind of shit for the most part of it. And then it was the last couple of chapters where it was not only shit, but so horrifically problematic. And I say that as someone that I guess I'm technically quite like a woke person, but I think I'm fairly generous when it comes to literature. But oh my God, it was horrific. I gave it a 0.5 because I give zeros to things I DNF. So it was a 0.5. It was fucking awful. I am also very thankful, I think, to this podcast. I'm going to say this. I don't actually know that she is a podcast listener, but there is a girl that follows me on Instagram called Rachel, and I think she must be a podcast listener because she does follow the podcast. So I'm assuming she is, and I am very thankful for this podcast because I don't know anyone that has read these. So when it was so awful, and when you read an awful book, you need someone to vent to about it.
Yeah.
And
I've asked you to read Ugly Love more than once because I read it and I need help.
It's on my list. But she saw that I was reviewing them on my story. Then we vented to each other about how bad the 3rd one was. And I was so glad. It was so cathartic. I needed someone to be like, what the actual fuck? I'm now reading the 4th because I have Stockholm Syndrome.
I managed to give up Zodiac Academy. Why can't you give up this?
Because the fourth is the last.
Okay.
So, you know, I've come this far. I need to see how this train wreck ends. I mean, I don't even think it's the end. I do think it's still being... I think there might be more. I'm not sure. But yeah, I just, at this point, I'm this committed. I need to know. The audiobooks are at least like very well produced. But yeah, so far the latest manic pixie daydream girl in the fourth one is called Wonder.
Kill me.
And her quirk is that no matter what she thinks of a book, she always rates it 5 stars.
Why?
To be nice.
To be nice.
Yeah.
I want to stab her through the eye.
Yes. I mean, luckily for you in this series, that is a possibility that might happen.
Right?
Right?
Just read them.
Exactly. Yeah. It absolutely infuriated. The third one was just horrific. Awful. Like one of the most sexist things I've ever read, and it's written by a fucking woman.
I did burn earlier. Ow.
Yeah, can I just say, you can tell this is the 3rd episode in a row. We're getting more and more chaotic. Hannah, what are you reading?
Well, just to repeat myself, I'm currently reading Sunrise on the Reaping and Private Revolutions by Yuan Yuan. But books I finished recently, earlier today in your garden, I finished Bear by Lorna Tucker.
You have it with
I
you?
did have it with me because... I was trying to explain to you, so it's the memoir of Lorna Tucker, who is a writer and filmmaker, and I wanted to ask you, have you seen the documentary Westwood, Punk Icon and Activist? As a huge Vivienne Westwood fan.
I don't know, because I've seen a lot of different Vivienne Westwood documentaries.
Okay.
And I can't say that I remember the name of any of them.
That's fine. This is the 2018 one that won an award at the Sundance Film Festival. Anyway, she was the director of that, as well as a documentary called Call Me Kate about Katharine Hepburn, and Amma, which is about sterilization abuse of Native American women across the United States. But she was homeless from like 14 till 16 or something like that. Like the timelines are slightly confusing because she doesn't even really remember and things like that. She has been, from the time she was homeless till like, you're an addict, you're an addict. She would still call it like an addict now. And yeah, she was living on the streets in London, and it's obviously not an easy read. In fact, it was one of the most difficult things I've ever read. Like, you read The Hunger Games and you're like, yeah, obviously that's like very difficult and horrible. But when you read like a non-fiction where you're like, wow, this is so much that has happened to someone and it's really horrific. But I'm really glad she wrote it, because I think you don't get to hear first-hand accounts of homeless people as often as we should. But also female homelessness is also a lot rarer than male homelessness, and hearing that account is really vital. So yeah, it's very short, as you can see. It came out in March. Would I recommend? Recommend is one of those weird words with this one. I would recommend it. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it in any way, shape or form, but I do think it's like vitally important and very brave of her to write. And I actually met her because I read this like through work. So I actually met her and interviewed her. She's so amazing. She's so creative. But I didn't realize, because like this was one of the first times I'd heard of her, I didn't realize she like became this acclaimed filmmaker and was scared anyone would find out she was once homeless. So this book was because people did find out, and it became a news story, and it was her about taking back control of that story of something that she was so ashamed of. Her youth was the fact that she was homeless. So yeah, I finished that today in your garden. Yeah, one of those weird books where it's like, do you recommend it? Yes, but please make sure you read all the content warnings for me, because I'm not going to list them all here because there's a lot. But check yourself before you get into that.
It seems like an inappropriate question now, but Anna, what are we drinking?
Wine.
Yay. Cheers.
Oh, that made a nice sound.
And a man paid for this, so it tastes better. Does it? Better than it would had a man not paid for it, is what I mean.
True.
Chapter 8. So she makes it back to her floor before she starts crying. Is this the first time she's cried?
Why is she crying?
Because she fucked it.
Oh, she cries before she knows. Yeah, sure. What, she's just crying because she shot the arrow? Yeah,
because she kind of realized, she comes down from her anger and realizes what she's done.
Right. She's cried. Yeah, because she refused. Did she cry on the train?
I don't know.
At night when no one was looking?
I don't think she did.
But I'm sure about it.
I'm pretty sure this is the first time she cries. She's in her room crying for like fucking ages, like all day. And then eventually she agrees to come out for dinner. She eats fish soup and thinks that the saltiness reminds me of my tears.
just stick on some My Chemical Romance grower side fringe. And think,
I was gonna say, like, this really feels like a reminder that Katniss is a teenager. Like, I don't want to say that this is overly dramatic, because I don't think that you can be overly dramatic in the situation that Katniss is in. I think that this is
very soup reminds you of your tears is a bit like,
yeah,
okay, girl. Okay.
Yeah. So she tells the group what she did, and they're kind of like both horrified and a bit like, fair play.
Fair play.
It's quite
I might
funny.
have done it.
Yes, they watch all of the different results. Katniss was thinking she thinks that she could have got like a 6 or a 7 with her archery had she not fucked it up, but they're probably going to give her a really low score. Peeta gets an 8, and then her score is revealed. She gets an 11, which, bear in mind, most of the careers got like an 8 to 10, I think.
The scoring is a bit buck wild.
Yeah.
It's not out of 10. It's out of 12, presumably for the 12 districts. But no one gets an 11 or 12. I don't know what for. Superman, I guess. No one really gets like a 1 or a 2. So it's just kind of like, what are these numbers?
Yeah.
But yeah, the careers sit around the 8 to 10 mark. So Peter's actually done very, very well on the career scores. But yeah, Katniss gets 11, which is almost unheard of. And me having read all the books and Pass and 3/4 of Sunrise, I'm kind of thinking like, why? What were they hoping to achieve with the 11?
Yeah, because it's explained away at this point in time. They need some players with some heat. And then it's remarked again, Katniss, the girl on fire. I do love that we're already setting up massively the whole, spark catching fire element. But yeah, it's interesting because I guess there's two ways of going about it. I think later on she does think to herself that they've essentially made her a massive target by doing this. And they kind of have, like, immediately once they go into the games, the careers do start to hunt her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess
It's being a career target?
Yeah, that, or like it might have been that they were genuinely impressed by her shooting.
I mean, we know that... Oh, what's the name of the head game maker for this game? I can't remember because he's a lot bigger player in the books, but we know that he's kind of makes more than one...
Is it Heavensby? Or is that someone else?
No, that's Plutarch's surname.
Oh, yeah.
We know that he makes more than one mistake in the eyes of Snow, and maybe this is like implied to be one of because I think he probably does it in a way that's just like, this will spice up the games a bit. At this point, they're looking for things to spice up the games, make it so that, because also from the pure TV perspective, at some point they must be a bit bored of careers always winning. They want you've got to have some of the other districts win sometimes, otherwise it'll be like, why are they even here?
I guess it is, better, like, from... I think the game maker, his fault in Snow's eye is that he does see it as a TV program and he doesn't think about it as the wider political thing. So he's thinking it's not a very good story if, like, the girl that volunteered for her sister and then had this amazing, like, chariot ride then gets like a mediocre or a shit score.
Yeah.
It's a lot better story for her to then do really, really well, and then it will sort itself out anyway because she'll then become a target. I guess that's probably the line of thinking. Whereas if it was Snow in control, he probably would be more like, let's shut the shit down and give her like a 1 or something.
It's so interesting to think about it just the way you described it, from like thinking about it from a TV perspective, because all that came into my mind, which I'm sure was Suzanne's intention, was how on the first episode of things like The Traitors, Love Island, I'm sure Big Brother, any reality TV show, you have so many contestants, you have to single out people immediately based on presumed interest in their storyline or creating a storyline for them. You can't give equal weighting to anyone. So it's the producer's job to do that. So like the producer is always in control, even if it's a show with audience participation, and The Hunger Games is meant to be that.
Again, whenever stuff like this happens, I just think about Prim and like how proud... In like, it sounds kind of like perverse to say that Prim would be proud of Katniss for getting a high score in something like this, but I think she would be, in terms of like, Katniss has made her a promise that she is going to come home.
Yeah,
and I think that Prim would really see this as like a sign that she is going to come home. Yeah. She starts to have a flashback to meeting Gale. In this flashback, it is revealed that Gale at 14 was already over 6 foot, so... I know he does go on to murder Prim in an act of war crime, but I have forgiven him because he is over 6 foot. So it's okay.
That just reminded me, I want to address a comment that we got, which like I don't want to be in the business of addressing every comment that we get that disagrees with us, because I'm not here to fight back. But I'd like to clarify for people who might not have listened to our last podcast that maybe don't know us so well. When we say we hate Gale or we hate a character, it doesn't mean that we hate like them existing in the books.
Yeah.
Hateable characters or characters you end up hating are vital to books. And I don't hate the fact that Gale exists. I hate him as a person, like despise him as a person. I think he's fantastically written, because the person was like, but Gale's so well written. I'm like, yes, but someone can't be hateable if they're not well written. It's what makes Dolores Umbridge so hateable.
Umbridge is a brilliant character, awful person.
Yeah, and it's the reason why she's actually a more hateable villain than Voldemort, because in a lot of ways she's better written. I feel the same. Although he's not a villain, he is a good guy that turns morally grey. He's fantastically written. When we say we hate him, I'm not like I hate his existence. I want everyone in the book to be good. That would be insane.
That'd be shit. So yes, they get like a flashback to meeting, how they didn't trust each other at first, and like slowly that trust built, and they eventually became a team, actually working together and like splitting whatever they caught, whatever they foraged. This made me wonder, do you think Gale would have survived in the games?
I think Gale had a really, really, really high chance of survival. I think he would have been targeted by the careers and too bullheaded to not avoid them like Katniss did.
Oh, I think he would have joined the careers.
No, he's too principled. The
boy, I think the second chapter said that people are no different to animals in regard to killing them. He would have joined the careers.
No, I don't think he still really looks out for Prim and like younger people like that. I absolutely don't think he would have joined the careers unless it was to fake, the same way Peeta does, to fake kind of survival and keeping an eye out for people. I think he would have been more like Thresh, hiding and only killing when necessary until right.
I think he would have joined the careers, at least to survive the initial bit, and then he would have defected pretty quickly early on. But I could really see him joining the careers as like an immediate means to the end, if that makes sense. And then I don't think he would have been like the entire games, obviously. I mean, you can't. But I can see him doing that and him justifying it as, oh, I'm just trying to get home. I'm trying to get back to my family, which, I mean, fair enough, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have won. But I don't know what I'm basing that on.
I don't think he would have won because he would have engaged in combat too much with the careers, personally. But
I don't think he would have won. I think it would have come down to him not being able to, I was going to say, like, not being able to kill an innocent. And then I was like, ow! Like, I was going to say, like, he couldn't take out Rue. But I mean, I know, but it's like, I started to say it. And then I was like, well, technically. Yeah. But yeah, I could see that if it got down to, like, say, a last two with him and someone like Rue, I don't think he could have.
No, I don't think he. She talks about the fact that they, as you said, they slowly became friends as they learned from each other. But in just the last year from when this book is set, it seemed possibly like more than friends. Like there was an extra edge, an extra little summon. And right now she longs for him.
Interesting. How do you interpret that? I mean, I can tell from the way you said. So do you interpret what she says about there being something more than friendship is romantic? Because I read that as being like family.
I didn't. I read it as her beginning to be old enough to understand that people marry in District 12 and back of mind not address it because she is someone who isn't able to like cope with that a bit. But I interpreted it as like there's something more than friendship, but she doesn't have the means to think of that as necessarily romantic. But it's not quite like how she acts with family. It's just something else.
Interesting. I read it purely instinctively as family. And I think also because wasn't there a line before in one of the other chapters about like other schoolgirls liking him and them being jealous and Katniss kind of being like, why? Like, so that makes me think that she hasn't remotely considered a romantic element there. So my brain went to like a more like a family bond, kind of in the way that Peeta thought they were cousins.
In my mind, I had this sense, and I'm really going to have to just like analyze what I think, especially in book 2, because maybe I'm wrong. I had this sense that Katniss never thought through what romance and relationships actually mean. Like she hadn't got to that point yet, but she thought that her and Gale might end up married in the same way that just like when you're younger, couples just exist in your life and you're like, those two exist together. Like that kind of childish almost notion of just like they are together.
Yeah.
I kind of interpreted it like that, and it's hard to explain.
So I guess you're kind of saying the same thing, like family, but in a different way, you know?
Yeah, in a different way. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So the chapter ends with the revelation that Peeta has asked to be coached separately for the interviews, which is really interesting because to me that implies that the confession was premeditated.
The confession was premeditated, 100%. Now, the real question is how much the confession is true, and that's what I want to discuss at the end of this. But yeah, I think the confession was definitely premeditated. I think he told Haymitch what he wanted to do, and I think Haymitch then coached him on how best to say it.
Yeah, and also, like, we can assume... Sorry, we're fully going on to chapter 9 now. We can assume that Haymitch made sure that... What's his name? Caesar was prepped to ask him this kind of leading question. Because otherwise it comes out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah. Katniss doesn't do well with the interview training, and that's an understatement century.
Yeah. So Effie tries to teach her how to walk in heels. She's really not very good at it. I find it really interesting. So Katniss keeps like hoiking her dress up because it's entangled in her heels, and Effie keeps like yelling at her like not above the ankles. And I find it so funny. Like, we know that it's quite often for like the chariot ride and stuff that the tributes will be like straight up naked. We also know that there is just a lot of nakedness in the capital. Like they're not like conservative whatsoever in their fashions. They wear a lot of very revealing stuff. So I find this like really interesting, this like sense of propriety in that, oh, but like if you're wearing like a full gown, like full dress, like gown type thing, if you were to hoik that up above your ankles, it's still not very ladylike.
Yeah, funny. I guess it's just like old-fashioned sensibilities coming in. I don't know. But it's also funny that they don't dress the tributes in the most outrageous of the capital styles. They dress them in this more old-fashioned look, which A, at least fits somewhat with the fact they're more like children, but B, I don't know whether it kind of plays into this thing where the capital is, okay, like, this is coming off the fly as I'm thinking of it. You know how in this country people will hark back for the war even though no one remembers the war because they have a romanticized view of the war.
Do you want to say the war anymore?
Yeah, I will. I'll say it as often as I want. Is it a bit like that the capital almost like it when these people are dressed in more old-fashioned clothes because they're reminiscing for a time that they don't even remember and the romantic sensibility of that?
Yeah. Her and Haymitch tried to work together to find this like persona for her, and they really can't find anything that's working for the interviews. Yeah. Katniss is so frustrated at the end of the day. She goes back to her room and she starts to smash dishes. She orders some food and then just smashes the dishes everywhere. And the Avox with the red hair comes in and she starts yelling at her, and she's thinking this girl must hate her and must think that what Katniss is going through is justice for what Katniss did to her. However, the girl instead goes and gets a flannel and wipes the tears off her face and cleans the blood off her hands. And Katniss, like, you know, kind of says, like, I'm sorry, like, I should have helped you. And this girl, like, points to her mouth and points to Katniss to be like, they would have just done this to you. I think this is, like, I mean, obviously such, like, a beautiful moment. Yeah, and it is like well done on that Avox for having that understanding. Yeah,
and I think wider it's meant to set Katniss up to like, you can't save everyone. And I suppose wider in the story it's meant to set us up to like, to save the masses, you can't always save the individual.
Yeah.
Which horrible and something that Katniss never fully learns, but that's because every hero in stories like this can never fully learn that, because if they do, they become like what Gale is at the end, which is that to save the masses you will sacrifice any. I like that when with Katniss getting frustrated and her struggling with the interviews, it's because we have this theme, and this is repeating throughout all three books, that she completely struggles to be fake or act in any way. It does play into this kind of like autism coding that she has, but it also just like is somewhat useful overall because she can't be anyone's plaything. She can't be the capital's plaything, and then she can't be his plaything in book 3. She can't act and she can't do that, and she's not going to, so she can't be forced into it.
Yeah. The prep team start to get her ready, and it's described as they erase her features with makeup and paint them back on. They cover her entire body in gold glitter and then make her close her eyes to put the dress on. they put the dress on her, and then there's the quote, "The creature standing before me in the full-length mirror has come from another world." I just really liked that quote.
Yeah.
So the dress is covered in loads of different coloured gems that basically make the dress shimmer like fire, especially when she starts to do a rotation. Actually, I forgot. I think I'd like really blended the film and the book in my mind.
Good CGI in the film.
But I like this. I like this at one, she's on fire, and then the second one is gemstones, because in the film they just do the same thing again.
No, I prefer that it's the illusion of fire. I think that's a lot cleverer, especially when you apparently hadn't learnt how to do fire CGI in 2008 or something.
Yeah. Cinna asks if she's talking to Cinna, and she basically says that she's like shitting it for the interviews because they can't find this persona for her. Like she doesn't know what to do. And he's like, pretend that you're talking to a friend. She's like, but my only friend is Gale, and he would know this stuff about me. And he's like, could you consider me a friend? And she's like, yeah, like if there's anyone that she's met while she's here, it would be him. And then he says to answer the questions like she's talking to him.
Oh, I love him. So
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so it comes time for her interview. She has to watch everyone else do the interviews first, which is kind of always horrible for 12. They never switch up the order. They have to watch everyone else go first. They always have to wait what would be like well over an hour, probably 2, which really like doesn't help with their nerves. But when she gets up there, although she panics at the beginning, she does a lot better than she or anyone else thought. And what she comes across as, rather than any persona that they were trying to push on her, is just a normal 16-year-old that feels quite like normal to us as a reader. Like she comes across very genuine.
Yeah.
Her wonder at the Capitol and it's kind of like newfangled inventions, her pain at Prim, it's all sold up for dramatic effect by Caesar to make television moments, but it's very real and down to earth and homey. So I guess the persona she ends up having is girl next door, which is like kind of odd to think about.
Yeah, we do meet Caesar for the first time, who I think is like just a wonderfully written character.
Yeah.
I think that the banter, the like effortless banter that he has with everyone, I think he is a great interviewer, and I think it's so good that she's written such a good interviewer. I don't know, because interviewing is a fucking skill, and he's absolutely brilliant at it. It's remarked that his age never really changes. They have so much surgery in the capital to avoid aging. Meanwhile, in 12, aging is seen as like an achievement, like something to be proud of if you reach old age. They only have 3 minutes per interview, which I think, Jesus Christ, that is not a lot of time to sell yourself.
No.
He asks her a question, and he has to ask it twice, because the first time he asked a question, like, she's just like, it was just like words, like just like in a different language, which like I really get, like whenever I'm feeling like really like panicky, like if someone says something to me, like it's really like I hear it and I understand each individual word, but as a sentence, what was that?
Which is the moment I always realise that's what English must sound like to a non-English speaker. You can truly understand what your native language must sound like is when the words don't make sense inside your own head and you're just like, what? What did you just say?
Yeah. Caesar is just ridiculously charismatic, helping her at every point, like turning things she says into jokes and laughing them.
Yeah.
Catching her after she does the spin. He's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, like he's like a tool of like a really sick, fucked up system, and at the end of the day, like he's enabling it. However, fantastic character.
Yeah.
So then it's Peeta's turn, and he immediately has them hook, line, and sinker. You know, making jokes. Everyone's laughing, and then we get, it's such good dialogue, and it's done so well in the fucking films too, where basically the conversation is, oh, like, you know, is there any girlfriend at home? And he's like, no, but like there's someone that I had a crush on. And Caesar's like, oh, well, you know, maybe you can win and go back home to her. And he's like, oh, I don't think winning would help me. So good. And then he's like, oh, and why is that? Because she came here with me. Like,
Sorry?
It's
Peeta. So
good. Oh, it's so Romeo and Juliet. It's so fucking Shakespearean. The tragedy. It's just so fucking good. And like, oh my God, could you imagine if you were like a capital person and you were watching this? Is this not the best TV?
Yes.
It's like, I love reality TV. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I would enjoy The Hunger Games, obviously not. But I do love reality TV. And part of why I love it is because I find it so fascinating, like the kind of production behind the scenes and how they build the narratives. And there's an entire like fictional drama that I like, that is a TV show about the producers of, they don't say The Bachelor, but it's The Bachelor. And it's really genius because even though it's like a fictional TV show, like it does show quite a lot of the actual behind the scenes of like what the producers do. And it's really fascinating to see that angle, even though it is fictional, it's not a documentary. I would fuck up watching a documentary about, like, actually, I just find it fascinating. And when you're watching like a really brilliantly made reality TV show, it is fascinating and just such brilliant TV. And this must be what it's like for them, of just being like, oh, this is like the best reality show ever. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, now
what
we
do you
can
mean?
narrative
And, like,
of the games around things that he has given us.
Exactly. Like, it's so good. And like, this must be the first time that they had like a romance in the Hunger Games, surely.
We finally get one.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about it is that the because we only ever see these books through Katniss's perspective, we never learn how true Peeta is being. Obviously, by the end of like book 2, Peeta and Katniss are very in love. But and I do think Peeta is in love with her at this point. But Peeta is also fucking smart, has been training with Haymitch to like learn how to do these interviews, and has already been playing into the Capitol's hands in terms of like waving off the train and things like that. He wants to give the audience something they crave in order to get sponsors. It's adding entertainment and high stakes and drama. So how much of him saying this and B, him choosing to reveal it is strategy, and how much is his truth? And I kind of love that we never find that out, because we are put in the same position of Katniss of, you know, hating him at the beginning for revealing that, not trusting his reveal, and then eventually just having to trust his word, which at the end of the day is what being in love with someone is just choosing to trust that they are telling you the truth when they say either you can never open up the inside of their mind and be like, show me. And the book's only being from one perspective is the same as that. We are in Katniss's boat of just eventually going, fine, I believe you. Fine, you are in love with me.
Yeah. I do personally think that he is and has always been in love with her. I don't think that he has, like, I agree it's a possibility. Because, yeah, we only see her side. But I just think...
I mean, he's in love with the idea of her. I then think he falls in love over the course of this book.
When I say in love, like, I mean as in, like, it's a crush.
Yeah. He falls
Obviously,
in love
he's not in
with
love. He
her
doesn't
over
know
this
her.
book.
For sure. No, but I mean, yeah, like, I do think that he genuinely has always had a crush on her.
Yeah.
I think that, one, I don't think that he is a strategic or calculating person in that way. Like, I don't think he's manipulative. And for him to fake this completely would be manipulative, and I don't think that's him. And I also think it's just been so fucking blatant. Like, even seeing it through Katniss being an unreliable narrator, and yet it's still fucking there. So let alone the stuff that, like,
she never noticed.
Exactly.
Yeah. But him choosing to reveal it is highly calculated.
Yes.
Which I love. He's smart.
Yeah.
He's a lot smarter than Katniss.
It is interesting though, like, what his motivation is. Like,
sponsors.
Yeah.
Her survival? How deep is this love? How deep is your love? Does he love her at this point so much that he would make sure she gets home over him? That I'm not sure about.
Yeah, I guess kind of what he must ultimately have been hoping for is that they would form an even temporary alliance where they both would get more sponsorships.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I mean, it's kind of a miscalculation when you take into account Katniss's personality. Obviously, she just immediately gets pissed off at him for doing this.
And they leave him in the
which
face.
I do think he could have predicted.
Yeah. She's gonna... So what you did was push her further away. Like, yeah. Yeah, that's what I assume. He was trying to form a temporary alliance. They'd get a fuck ton of sponsors because the Capitol would be like, oh my God, so cute. And then I don't know. That's the thing. They both run into you later. What are you gonna do now?
I don't think that is it, actually. I don't think that he did it for the sponsorship, because if that was the case, it makes more sense that he would have asked Haymitch to do them together and discuss the plan with Katniss, because I think that Katniss actually, if it had been discussed with her, if he was like, oh, I'm going to say this, wink wink, nudge nudge, I actually think she would have agreed to it. I think this is him getting it off his conscience. I think he wants her to know.
I mean, I think maybe it is also that it's not that he doesn't want to go home and loves her so much that he only cares about her going home. That's what it is in book 2. It's that he still genuinely believes he cannot win this, and therefore it's worth making sure she gets as many sponsors as possible so that she's the one that gets to go home. It's still what his mother said of at least District 12 might have a victor.
Yeah, but I think if that was the plan, like, they would have had a conversation, like, off air.
Yeah.
I think the only thing is, that he wanted to get it off his conscience. Why he did it on TV instead of in private. Maybe, like, sponsors was also, like, part of it. But
I think it's got to be. He knows he's playing into the capital narrative. However much in love he is. He did that moment for dramatic effect. That isn't just him being like, I love her. The whole, like, the way Caesar set him up of, like, it would be difficult. As I came here with her, like, that's set up from his part for dramatic effect. But I think, like, multiple things can be true at once. But that's, I like that we never see his perspective. We're never going to know all his reasons for doing this.
I can't remember if it's film only. I guess we'll find out. But because I think there is a line in the film, something about wanting to make her seem desirable.
Yeah.
But that feels so weak to me.
I think it's a whole mixture of reasons.
But, I mean, fucking thank God he did.
Yeah. Peeta does make her.
Well,
what a reveal, Peeta.
It's so good. It's
I love him. It's the drama mix.
The drama mix.
I just love it. It's drama. And that's the end of part 1.
Wow.
These are always split into parts, which are the parts necessary? Not really. I don't mind. I split things into parts. Go off. Do what you want.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Drunk Girls Who Read, a podcast by Goblet of Wine Productions.
If you'd like to follow us around the internet, you can find our social media links in the description.
Or if you'd like to support us further, you can find us on Patreon, where you'll get access to bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye!